Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Education Committee of the 18th of April. So we have some guests with us today with regards to various items on the agenda, which we will introduce the people as we go. So, any apologies for absence? First item on the agenda.
Yes, I've got apologies from Des Morris and Evelyn Yed.
Okay, thank you. And item 2 then, do we have any declarations of interest? No, thank you. So moving on to item 3 then on the agenda, it's the SEF workstream 2, Learning and Teaching Spotlight presentation. I think Janice is then going to introduce this and the guests we have with us today. Thanks.
Thank you, Convener. The purpose of this session is to shine a light on aspects of work currently being supported by the Department's Strategic Equity Fund, which is taking place across our educational establishments in order to improve outcomes for all our learners. The Department's SEF plan, Raising the Bar for All, Delivering Excellence Through Equity, identifies 3 key themes as part of our theory of change to tackle poverty-related attainment gap: children and young people's wellbeing, literacy and numeracy, learning and teaching. In addition, leadership, parental engagement and the use of research and data to support professional learning permeates across all themes. This particular spotlight focuses on learning and teaching. I'm delighted that Kathleen Maguire, Quality Improvement Manager, Margaret Alloway, Principal Teacher Learning and Teaching Assessment, Joe McGregor, Acting Head Teacher at Hillview Primary School, and Jacqueline Dunn, Head Teacher at Calderwood Primary School, have joined us this morning to share some of the input and the impact. And I'm now going to hand over to Kathleen Maguire.
Thank you, Janice. I will give a short overview of the work stream and how it's aligned to the wider improvement work in this area, and then I'm going to hand over to Margaret, Joe and Jacqueline, who will provide you with an insight to the working practice and the impact it's having. The Excellent Experiences for All framework for learning, teaching and assessment was launched in 2020 for all East Renfrewshire education departments. The Curriculum, Learning, Teaching and Assessment Reference Group was then established in 2021 to provide collective leadership and a shared commitment to bring about improvements in curriculum, learning, teaching and assessment in line with the Education Department's vision, everyone attaining, everyone achieving through excellent experiences. One of the aims of this reference group was to create and implement a Curriculum for Excellence vision for 2025, depicted by the sketch notes that you saw previously on the slide, which was set out by a planned approach at the Head Teacher Seminar in 2022. With the introduction of the Strategic Equity Fund in 2022, the workstream for learning and teaching was created to make best use of the framework by supporting and building further on the ongoing work of the reference group. The workstream has identified activities, some of which are detailed in this slide, that will lead to improved outcomes and the provision of high quality learning, teaching and assessment, focusing on achieving equity for all learners across East Renfrewshire Council. In order to support schools and settings to bring about improvements in this area and allocate resource to best effect, we established a 3-tiered approach: supported, guided and independent. This approach is based on our analysis of qualitative and quantitative data alongside dialogue with school leaders to align schools to the appropriate tier of support. This approach was shared with head teachers last session. It is flexible, responsive to context and need, and is regularly reviewed to ensure that the appropriate support is provided to each setting at the right time. For example, last session we identified 4 establishments within the supported tier who would benefit from more intensive support from the wider improvement team, and upon recent review, 2 of these settings have progressed as such that they require less support next session, moving within the guided tier. Likewise, we had 7 establishments initially within the guided tier, benefited from support in a few key areas, and they have now progressed to requiring a lower level of support next session within an independent tier. For those settings within the supporting tier, the improvement plans are put in place collaboratively, and this is done with relevant members of the wider improvement team and with relevant school staff, and this was also supported by our Education Scotland Attainment Advisor. The other activities of the workstream are to provide all settings and staff at all levels with up-to-date research and professional learning opportunities to bring about improvements in learning, teaching and assessment, and to support their approaches to self-evaluation whilst building staff capacity at all levels. I'm now going to hand over to Margaret and Joe as leads for the workstream, who will provide you with a bit more detail.
Thank you, Kathleen.
As you can see on the next slide, this is the journey that we have been on over the past year and a half. We started in January 2023, where we started to map out what the project would look like and what we could do in order to support that universal approach to staff. So in February to June 2023, we started to look outwards. We had the idea that we wanted to develop a digital platform that could be used by senior and middle leaders within the schools. And we looked outwards and we looked at research around this so that we could underpin everything that we did by the research and keep it informed. We developed that over a period of months last year, and then by August we were able to take that back to the larger curriculum reference group, where we engaged in the quality assurance process, looking at the materials that were provided and looking at the self-evaluation tools that we were developing. In October this year we were able to launch that with our head teachers, and that was then followed up by a support session that a number of senior and middle leaders were invited to, and you can see by the diagram at the bottom left the attendance that we had. So we had a range of deputy heads and principal teachers primarily, but one of our smaller establishments was able to send a class teacher, and one of our family centres sent a head teacher for that training. So that gave us an opportunity to really let the staff have a look at the platform and support them with how they might use that in their own establishments. And then from December until about now, establishments have been able to engage with that by themselves. Myself and Jo have been able to support a number of schools more directly with this as part of the supported approach in those schools, so ensuring that they can engage with the self-evaluation and move improvements forward in their establishment. And then as we move into May this year, myself and Jo are continuing to support by offering more drop-in sessions for senior and middle leaders to attend to support them as they look at their school improvement planning going forward. And Jo will now take the opportunity to share with you what the platform looks like.
Thank you, Joe. Yes, we really form that independent use of this self-evaluation toolkit and the platform, and it's been really helpful for us at Calderwood Lodge in terms of continuing to strive for those incredibly high standards that we have and the aspirations of the children we have. We engaged round about the start of the year, as this was launched in December, with the self-evaluation and sought it as an opportunity to triangulate and clarify our ongoing self-evaluation processes which are already in place. We have really capable learners within Calderwood Lodge, and we wanted to make sure that we weren't resting on our laurels, as it were, for them, that we were continuing to strive for that challenge. As a senior leadership team, we engaged in the self-evaluation toolkit, which really helpfully for us triangulated and really confirmed that what we were seeing through our own quality assurance processes was indeed what was coming out in this self-evaluation. We also tweaked it, and that's one of the real benefits of this platform, that you can make it bespoke to your own establishment at whatever point in the journey you are on. We tweaked it in the way that we used some of the reflective questions that we had engaged with as senior leaders and used these with our practitioners, including our pupil support assistants as well, who have such a vital role in engaging with our children. We used those statements as real kind of provocations for thought. We asked staff to have a think about them, to provide evidence within their practice of it, and to then maybe try and formulate for themselves and each other some next steps. We then collated all that information, as the self-evaluation toolkit has an incredibly ingenious factor to it, where you can put all the information and all the evidence into a spreadsheet, and it will then indicate through marking the kind of grading, the results to those, a real area, as you can see at the bottom. It's quite small, but as you can see at the bottom there, differentiation came out for us. So from that main bookshelf of those different aspects, differentiation for Calderwood Lodge was something that we saw as a next step. As an impact of this, and quite an immediate and short-term impact, what we've developed is a persona for our learners, so that we really get to know our learners very well. This was grounded in a lot of the professional reading that was available on the platform, but is allowing us to have that real baseline starting point to then improve for our improvement priorities as we move on to session 24-25. It does show you, though, how the platform can be used immediately to make sure that you have that real grounding for long-term improvement as well. We've got a real focus as we move ahead into this standards and quality review period, and then into formulating our priorities for next session in terms of building staff capacity. We have a really strong skill set. Many of you have met many of our class teachers within Calderwood Lodge, but they really strive to continually improve their practice for improved outcomes for the children. So what we've done through this is allowed the staff to participate in self-evaluation that then creates a feature that they are going to focus on through professional inquiry next year, really guiding and supporting that. Again, without the platform, that may have taken us a little while longer to do that, as it would have been a senior leadership team looking around all the different resources. So this platform for us as a school in an independent way has really helped to support and guide that and fasten the pace of change as well. Our overall impact that we are already seeing through staff engaging with those professional reading opportunities is that we are really starting to see through our quality assurance, staff are providing much more effective challenge for our learners, which is incredibly important for us at Calderwood Lodge, and a real ambition in learning, making sure that our aspirations are continually high and continue to grow. We see this moving forward, forming the real pathway for a priority in a one-year basis for our school improvement plan for next year, but also as part of that 3-year school improvement journey as well. We can revisit it using the platform to make sure that we have that evidence, and that evidence then informs our next steps as we move forward through the suite of different areas of learning and teaching.
Thank you very much for giving us the time this morning. I would like to extend an open invitation to any of you that would like to come and visit any of our settings. Jacqueline's obviously given a fairly comprehensive overview of Calderwood Lodge, so please feel free to let us know if you would like to do that, and we'd be more than happy to host and have you visit any of our establishments. But thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you. That was excellent. I think very, very well presented, very informative. So I'm sure there may have not been notes or comments from others. So it's Councillor McCann.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think just to highlight the great work that's obviously been taken forward with having that platform. I think what it does is it shows some of the reasons why our schools get the results that they do. Because the work at this level that goes on and is then carried on through every establishment, through all of our schools and into secondary, is incredible. So congratulations on that. I think the key thing for me is the professional training aspect, ensuring that that is then rolled out across and everyone has access to it. It's not just the specific schools, the Calderwood Lodge and Hillview, but it's making sure that that's available to everyone, and that enables everyone to take forward all of these actions, which keeps us as an authority in a very strong place in terms of our education. So thanks very much for all the work you've done on that. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Buchanan. Councillor Bragno.
Just thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting, and it's great to see how this practice has been developed, and it is definitely working in the likes of Hillview and Calderwood Lodge. I was just wondering, obviously it's now in these two schools out actively using it, but what is the plan to make it widespread practice across East Renfrewshire going forward? Just to make sure that all our senior leaders and those in kind of middle management schools have the opportunity to use the platform.
It's actually already available to all. We've launched the training. Margaret mentioned in the journey that we had training in October of last session with all of our head teachers and senior leaders. So it's actually available widespread to all levels staff. So it's been used by head teachers, deputies, principal teachers and class teachers at the moment in all of our settings, early years, primary, secondary and special sector as well.
Sorry. Thanks. Councillor Rocks.
Yeah, I just say, I mean, reflection is one of the kind of key pillars, if you like, in teaching, and which is always quite difficult when you reflect on your own practice and you think, oh crikey, maybe a bit short there. But what's fantastic about this is, whatever the shortcomings are, there are tools available and resources available to actually do something about it. So, can I ask? There's a huge amount of information just at the beginning there. Is this peculiar to East Renfrewshire, or is this rolled out over Scotland? Thanks.
This is solely within East Renfrewshire at the moment, but we have had interest obviously from our colleagues in various different local authorities. But you'll have seen from the landing page we have access to the national materials and the West Partnership materials, but this platform itself is for East Renfrewshire Council staff.
Congratulations to the East Renfrewshire team.
Well, I think you can tell from the questions, the comments. It's we can see. It is actually, the spotlight is fantastic. Thanks for bringing it, Janice, and for us to then see in action. And in regards to your invite, I'm quite sure you can tell that people would be more than happy to come along and see what's going on elsewhere. Okay, thank you. Janice, do you have anything else to add? No? Oh, thanks. Okay, thanks very much for coming along today. So we will move on now to item 4 on the agenda, and I believe it's going to be Janice, and it's the report regarding Kirkhill Primary School from Education Scotland. Thank you.
Thank you, Convener. This paper informs the Education Committee of the report of Education Scotland on Kirkhill Primary School. Kirkhill Primary School was inspected by Education Scotland in December 2023. Under the short model arrangements, Education Scotland evaluate 2 quality indicators and provide a short report detailing strengths and areas for improvement. A copy of the report is included in your appendix. In assessing the indicators of quality in the school, Education Scotland found 2 aspects of the work to be very good: learning, teaching, assessment, and raising attainment and achievement. The key strengths are listed in paragraph 8 of the cover paper. They include the strong leadership and direction of the head teacher, working closely with all staff. She builds and sustains a nurturing, inclusive school culture that supports children very well to achieve and attain. The school's approaches to science, technology, engineering and mathematics and those STEM skill-based learning, children are building and applying their skills and knowledge across the curriculum very well, and the very good progress children are making in their learning. This is a very good report on an East Renfrewshire school. It is pleasing that the commitment to the rights of the child were also recognised, with the inspection team commenting on the staff's continuation to embed the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child and the children working together with staff to develop the useful class charters. The inspection team agreed 2 areas for improvement with the School and Education Department. Teachers should continue to provide further opportunities for children to lead actively their own learning and lessons. This should include helping children to understand better their strengths and next steps in learning. And as planned, staff should continue to develop ways to support children to identify and reflect on the skills they are developing across the curriculum. Appendix 2 of the paper sets out the school's action plan to address the agreed areas for improvement. The Quality Improvement Service will work closely with the school and leadership team to support its implementation and visit within 2 years of the date of the publication of the report and review the impact on the action plan in addressing these agreed areas for improvement. Education Committee is asked to note and comment on the contents of the Education Scotland report on Kirkhill Primary and approve the action plan to address the agreed areas for improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. And as Janice said, we're asked to note and comment if anyone has any particular comments on the report. And we're also asked to approve the action plan. Can I actually just ask something in particular about the school? We have the head teacher, Mrs Matthews, with us today, and highlighted specifically STEM. And it appears to be a strength of the school. Do you elaborate a bit more on how that was nurtured or developed? Or?
Yeah, so we have one of our teachers within the school has quite a kind of knowledge about STEM and a real interest in STEM, and does a lot of work nationally with science and STEM and different things as well. So this session we've actually set up a STEM innovation hub within the school, and weekly the pupils have a chance to go in and work with him, looking at STEM and developing skills further within that as well. So we've put a lot of work to that, and also shared as well we've actually received an award as well within this week actually for leadership in STEM. So we're delighted with that and the work, and it's something that the pupils are really highly engaged with, and our families as well.
Great, thank you very much, Mr Matthews. Any other questions or notes or comments? Councillor Wallace?
Just interesting, on the STEM side of things, any, I know there's always concerns about having the young girls, for example, are they being encouraged to come forward? Is this partly what the whole STEM project's all about?
Yes, yeah, we have. So we are encouraging STEM with girls, and we've had a lot of visiting speakers into the school as well, and quite a few females coming in as well to talk about careers in STEM with the pupils. We've also recently applied for a LEGO grant, which as part of that is the kind of theme behind that is to encourage girls in STEM, and hopefully we'll be taking forward a project specifically looking at that as well to develop that further in the school.
As long as it's not in detriment to the boys.
I'm sure that's not the case. Well, excellent. Sorry, Councillor O'Donnell.
I think it's appropriate to thank the head teacher here for all the work that not just she and all the staff and the pupils have done to help create a really very, very good report. So well done to everyone there, and thanks to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Yes, very much would like to echo that. Councillor Merry.
Yeah, just to congratulate Mrs Matthews and your staff, and the strong leadership is one of the points where that permeates through the school. I love the bit where it talks about articulate and confident children, so they'll have a pride in the school, because you need both these things. There's no point in being articulate if you can't deliver it, and there's no point in being confident if you don't have the confidence. So, very well done, thank you very much, and please keep up the good work, and have a lovely May Day break when it comes along.
Thank you, Councillor Merry. So your microphone. Come on. Thank you. Excellent. Well, and the final then this thing is we have to agree the action plan. Oh, we'll have some further comments. Actually, that'd be nice to have from Mrs Matthews. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today following our inspection. I'm delighted that Education Scotland had the opportunity to visit Kirkhill in December, and so pleased that they recognised our articulate and confident learners who are very proud of their school. They highlighted that our pupils are highly motivated and engaged in their learning and enjoy sharing their knowledge with others. I'm very pleased they also acknowledged our nurturing and inclusive ethos and culture in the school and the positive relationships across the school, which is something that is very important to everyone at Kirkhill and we're very proud of. All staff across the school work hard to develop a highly inclusive ethos where children learn about the importance of diversity and valuing others, so we were delighted the visiting team recognised this. At Kirkhill, our pupils contribute to the life of school through a wide range of pupil leadership roles. All pupils are involved in pupil improvement groups and help drive improvement across our school. This session, some of our older pupils have been involved in the Young Leaders of Learning programme, and as part of this, they visited other East Renfrewshire schools using the How Good Is Our School to support their self-evaluation. And I was delighted that the team recognised this and that this work leads to positive change across our school. In Kirkhill, we strive to provide the children with learning experiences that are relevant and meaningful through leadership roles, extracurricular clubs, pupil improvement groups and high-quality learning and teaching. The evidence of wider achievement across all stages shows that children make a significant contribution to the life and work of the school. The report also highlights the consistently high levels of attainment and achievement across the school, which is as a result of the hard work and dedication of all staff and the involvement of our families. I am particularly proud that the inspection team recognised our approaches to STEM, and as I said, this has been further recognised this week when we found out that our STEM lead has been awarded the winner of the 2024 David Clark Prize for Outstanding Teaching in the field of engineering for primary schools. And as a result, we've been awarded funding to enable us to support the further development of engineering within the school. Close partnership working with families and parents and our school community is very important to us. We actively consult and involve our families in order to ensure that we're providing the best possible experiences for our learners and continuing to improve. Our families play a pivotal role in supporting learning, the school ethos and sharing wider achievements. The recommendations in the report reflect improvement priorities that we have identified through our own self-evaluation, and our approaches to addressing these are outlined in our action plan. I'm confident that we are well placed to take these forward and that staff will continue to build on the practice already in place across the school, due primarily to the dedication and collegiality of our team. I would like to thank all members of the staff team at Kirkhill, teachers, pupil support assistants, the clerical team, catering, facilities management and our partners for their commitment and enthusiasm. I would also like to thank the Education Department and the Quality Improvement team. The outcome of our inspection reflects the support, advice and high quality experiences offered by the department. Thank you particularly to Janice Collins and Kathleen Maguire for their invaluable ongoing support and advice. I also thank the convener and Education Committee for their support of the Education Department and of schools and centres. My biggest thanks, though, goes to the children who every day demonstrate our values and make us all incredibly proud. Our children are highly motivated and eager to learn and do well and contribute so much to our school and community. I feel very privileged to be the head teacher of Kirkhill, and I'm so appreciative to our fantastic staff team and supportive community. And I look forward to continuing to work with our community and partners as we strive to continually improve outcomes for all our learners. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much, Mr. Matthews, very well said. And I'm sure the committee then are confident and happy to approve the action plan with regards to the report. Lovely, thank you. And our next item, I'm glad to say, is a further report on from Education Scotland on St Luke's High School. And again, it's Janice that will present the initial paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Convener. This paper informs the Education Committee of the outstanding report by Education Scotland on St Luke's High School. St Luke's High School was inspected by Education Scotland in December 2023 under the short model arrangements. They evaluated 2 quality indicators and provided a short report detailing strengths and areas for improvement. Once again, this report is included as part of your papers. In assessing the indicators of quality in the school, Education Scotland found 2 aspects of the work to be very good: learning, teaching, assessment and raising attainment achievement. The school and department were disappointed that the inspection was the short model, as we would have welcomed the opportunity to share the sector-leading practice around leadership of change and ensuring wellbeing, equality and inclusion that is taking part in St Luke's High School. This report is one of the best reports in Scotland and highlights the outstanding practice by St Luke's High in delivering quality for our pupils, parents and the community. As a result of this report, we have received tremendous interest and volume of requests from schools and education departments throughout Scotland to visit the school. The key strengths and exceptional practice are listed in paragraphs 8 and 9 of your report and include the strong leadership and strategic direction of the head teacher, working closely with the staff, the cluster, the local authority, and how that's effectively led to improvements in learning and teaching and assessment, and the positive impact in developing creative and engaging approaches to learning and teaching. The highly skilled staff have developed high quality creative and engaging approaches in learning and teaching, and young people, including those with additional support needs, attain very well because of the different approaches. Staff, with the support of senior leaders, ensure that barriers to learning, participation and achievement are being actively addressed. Young people are improving their attendance, engagement and achievements at school through the well-developed and individual targeted supports. This is an exceptional report on an East Renfrew school, and the evaluations by Education Scotland reflect the continued commitment and efforts of all associated. Although leadership is not inspected, it is particularly pleasing that the outstanding leadership of the head teacher in strategically leading the improvements in learning, teaching and assessment was recognised, along with her highly skilled staff. The inspection team identified only one area for improvement, which should be noted as a continue to, as the school are very aware of their next steps as they continue to strive to provide the best for the young people of St Luke's. This improvement is to continue to refine highly effective practice in learning, teaching and assessment to continue to raise attainment. Appendix 2 of the paper sets out the action plan to address this agreed area for improvement, and the Quality Improvement Service will work with the school leadership team to support its implementation and revisit within 2 years of the date of the publication to review the impact of the action plan in addressing that one area of improvement. Elected members are asked to note and comment on the contents of the Education Scotland report on St Luke's High School and approve the action plan to address the agreed areas for improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. And I believe, well, sorry, but you're looking at me already, Gordon. I ask to note and comment with regards. I appreciate your comment about the Education Scotland. I know there's a lot of frustration about the schools being examined on the short, I think they call it the criteria, because it doesn't always bring out everything that's really good that's within any school in Scotland. Any notes and comments from any other members? Councillor Wallace. Thank you.
Yeah, just the report you mentioned that this is one of the best reports in Scotland, and yet we've got very good, which doesn't really bode well for the rest of Scotland. What do you have to do to get excellent? Not that I'd say it's a bad thing.
I think that's part of the challenge with the short model. Councillor Wallace, Janice might want to address.
There has been no secondary school in Scotland been awarded an excellent for learning and teaching, as far as I'm aware, since the inspection model changed 2016/17.
And any particular reason why that? I mean, I suppose in one side of the coin is then perhaps the Scottish Government are trying to aspire to greater things, which has got to be welcomed, or else there's maybe some shortcomings in the actual auditing of processes itself in this short scenario that you're talking about. Is that possible?
The short model just looks at different quality indicators, and I think there is there under 1.3 and 3.2, which is the sort of leadership and the attainment, there has been more willing. 3.1, which is inclusion, there's been more excellency awarded, not necessarily for 2.3, and I'm not aware. You'd need to maybe ask Education Scotland the reason for that. I think that might have been my intention.
Mark, you want to come in?
just to go back to that, Councillor, we have had those discussions with Education Scotland, because I do think there's a legitimate question to be asked there. If in sort of 7-8 years of inspections, nobody can attain excellent, there's a tension that needs explored there. I think Education Scotland would say that that's that particular quality indicator. It's about having that consistently high practice across an entire school. So if you take a large secondary school like St Luke's or some of our other schools, that is very difficult to attain because of the number of staff that are involved. I think that's probably why it's that consistency part. But whether the benchmark is then so high that in all the inspections that have taken place, nobody can reach that. That's the challenge we've given to Education Scotland, that you've essentially created a framework that nobody can achieve, and I'm not sure that's helpful either.
Thank you, Mark. Councillor Bragdon.
Thank you. I would just like to congratulate you on this report. I think what really shines through for me is the very strong feeling of belonging and community that the pupils feel, and that's led by your work as head teacher. I think that's really hard to achieve in large secondary schools, because how do you create that community and where there's so many pupils? So I think that's great that shines through. And yes, it is disappointing that it wasn't done in the long model, because it's clear from just a short model that the leadership shines right the way through the report. So just to congratulate you, all your staff, and also the pupils, and I'm sure parents and carers are very impressed with this report as well. And I know that there's quite a lot of media attention, which is always great when schools like St Luke's are in the media, given some of the challenges that come with pupils living in SIMD 1 and 2. So I think that's great to have national recognition of this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Councillor Bragdon. Councillor Buchanan.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and congratulations to both. I think, again, two outstanding reports, something that we certainly don't become complacent about, but we know that our schools perform particularly well. And it probably is unusual, and based on the discussion we've just had about education assurance, in terms of whether it's the short model or the full model. It's probably rare in any circumstance that an organisation, schools or otherwise, would want a full inspection done and highlighted to highlight, because of the confidence that they have that the results would be positive, and that's probably quite unusual. But again, it's probably also not unusual that Education Scotland is also under review, and some of those issues will no doubt be looked at in terms of how we move forward. But I think what it does highlight is the fantastic work that is done on a daily basis by yourselves, by all of our teaching staff right across the authority, to ensure that the outcomes that we have for our children are as the best that they can be, and to ensure that our schools operate at the top of their game. And I think that's a welcome message for everyone. So thank you for that. I think it's great that we have that, and our parents are delighted. It's what makes East Renfrewshire what it is, and that's great to be taking that forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buchanan. Oh, Dorothy.
Yes, thank you, Convener. I too would like to congratulate the head teacher, all her staff, the pupils, their families, and of course I'd like to acknowledge the great support that the Education Department has given the school for what I would call a really excellent, outstanding report. I'm particularly pleased to read within the first line of the full report that's on the Education Scotland website that the team recognised the contribution that St Luke's strong Catholic ethos makes to the high quality relationships within the school. And the report also acknowledges the contribution that the young people make to their parish and to the wider community, and of course their involvement in the St Martin de Porres Equalities United group, as well as the S3 St Luke and St Luke's Award, and St Luke the Evangelist Award, and the S6 Caritas Award. So it's a tremendous report which you must be very, very proud of, and I'd just like to wish you every success in the future.
Thank you, Dorothy. Councillor Donald.
I'd just like to thank Dorothy for those comments, very detailed and very, very helpful. I I echo all the points that have been made before. This is really an excellent report and really life-affirming when you see this happening in Barrhead. I'd just like to draw attention to the comment in paragraph 8. The report highlights exceptional practice across Scotland. That doesn't happen overnight. That's years of work and practice, sweat and tears, not just by yourself as head teacher, but by all your staff, education department, and the pupils to get to that position. And that's about determination for delivering the best outcomes for our children. So I thank you for that, and well done. And it's a high bar to maintain, but I'm sure you will put every energy into doing that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Yes, so sorry, possibly I should have introduced the fact that Mrs Downey is actually with us today. But with regards to that, in terms of the action plan, I'd like to hear about the St Luke's Enhancing Collective Efficacy professional learning programme, given to the spotlight that we had earlier, and also to hear what that maintains, or sorry, entails, like for the future with regards to what Councillor O'Donnell.
I think, as you noted, we have been in a sustained journey of improvement around learning, teaching and assessment for the past 7 years, a real focus on upskilling our staff through engagement in professional learning. And as a school, we have year on year sought to tweak practice and get better and better every single year. And we've got right down into the nuance of practice to make sure that consistency that Mark talked about is across the school. So what we're looking at now in terms of that, how do we move forward from here? And the discussion around excellent and schools maybe not having been awarded that at all across Scotland in the secondary sector. We've had lots of communication from other schools saying, why is that not excellent? Because we can't see what else you need to be doing here. But for me, there will always be something that we can do, and we always need to keep improving, because this is about the life chances of our children and young people, and they don't get a second opportunity. So this programme that we're beginning to design and work upon is that we've got a small core team of staff who are working on it currently. And what we're looking to do is, instead of the big consistent whole school approaches, we're all working in differentiation, we're all working on whatever that particular focus might be. Where we now are is every individual member of staff, let's look at the nuance of your practice. Let's look at one small thing that, with a real focus over the course of the year, with the support of your colleagues, will take that practice even further in the classroom. Because we have got that strong starting point where Education Scotland have described the highly skilled staff. I do have staff who are very, very skilled in terms of their professional pedagogical knowledge and understanding. So the programme is going to pair staff, 2 people paired together through the course of the year, with a significant programme of support to help each person within that pairing to find one part of the practice that they want to get better on, and the other member of staff will work with them to help them to do that. The programme is really structured, there's a lot of coaching involved in there, but it's got teachers talking with one another in and out of each other's classrooms, helping each other to continue to enhance that practice even further. Because what we really do know from the research is that collective efficacy is the biggest thing in improving the quality of learning and teaching in our schools. You can have silos of excellence, but the important thing is that we have that consistently, as Mark talked about, across the entire school estate. So that's what we're looking to do with that enhancing and that nuance of everybody's practice. It means then that teachers as well as professionals have that autonomy to be able to say that that's a particular area of my practice that I want to get better on now, because we have such a strong base and starting point across the school.
Lovely, thanks very much, and an excellent answer, I have to say. I think that really shows us why this is such a good report. So I would like to give you the last word, and then I believe you have some words that you want to put forward yourself with regards to the report. Thank you.
So it's kind of just to echo even the echoes that we heard earlier, but not just that. Congratulations, Mrs. Downey, and all your staff, and please pass that on from us all. And to thank Dorothy also for the encapsulating the whole Catholic ethos and how much that contributes as well. So what I was going to say here, and I think this has come through in what you've already said, that we kind of get spoiled a little bit in the Education Committee because we get great reports often, yeah. And we must remember what goes on behind that, and it is that non-stop resilience, just keeping improvement, always looking for ways, as you've just described, to make it even better. There's never a sense of resting on the laurels. Nobody goes, that job over, we can stop for a while, but you should stop at least for the May Day weekend. But thanks very much for the leadership, and that also, what is the nature of leadership in schools? I mean, this is what's working at the minute, but that continual striving, and that's exactly what the kids will need in the years ahead. And good luck. Thank you very much for the lot.
Thanks very much, Councillor Merrick. And, well, I think we're happy now to let you have the final word.
Thank you. And thank you to yourself, Convener, and to the committee members for this opportunity to speak with you today. As Janice noted, we were inspected in December using that short model of inspection which focused on the 2 quality indicators, learning, teaching and assessment, raising attainment and achievement. And as a school, as Janice mentioned, we were deeply disappointed not to have been inspected using the full model, since we were keen to share an improvement journey and excellent practice in the additional indicators of leadership of change and ensuring wellbeing, equality and inclusion. However, given the positive outcome of our inspection and the informal feedback from the Managing Inspector, I'm confident that the quality indicators which were not formally evaluated are key strengths of our school, and I'm also confident that the visiting team would have validated our excellent practice in these areas. That being said, learning, teaching and assessment is our core business and central to our ambitions for our young people in terms of ensuring high quality outcomes through raising attainment and achievement for all. Therefore, I am delighted that we've received such a strong report in these areas, and that our next step from Education Scotland is to continue to refine what is already highly effective practice in these areas. It is highly unusual to have such minor action points following an inspection of these particular quality indicators, and so I'm delighted that this reflects the sector-leading practice which is taking place in St Luke's. The report recognises the high-quality relationships across our school community, which, as Dorothy said, are based on our strong Catholic ethos, nurturing culture and high expectations. Improving the life chances of our young people is at the heart of all that we do in St Luke's. All staff, from our catering, facilities management and office staff, to our teachers and support assistants, work together to ensure that our young people are well supported to achieve their full potential. However, this work can only be successful if our young people feel valued and empowered, and so I'm delighted that the inspection report recognises that our young people respond very positively to the opportunities they have to contribute to the life of their school, parish and wider local community, and that they feel valued as members of the school community. The report highlights that our young people know that they are listened to and that their views are taken into account. This includes young people being involved in planning their learning, influencing the curriculum and informing school policies, therefore ensuring that learning is meaningful, relevant and appropriate to them. This is particularly pleasing because we've worked hard to develop a sense of belonging and connectedness with our young people as we continue to recover from the impact the pandemic has had on their mental health and well-being. Over the past 6 years, we've invested heavily in professional learning with regards to our core business of learning, teaching and assessment. We've worked hard to provide consistently high quality learning experiences across our school, with a particular focus on pedagogy, skills development, curriculum innovation and highly effective approaches to assessment to ensure progression in learning. Therefore, I am delighted that the report highlighted our highly effective practice in this area. Indeed, the inspection team praised our highly skilled staff and have identified our work as practice worth sharing nationally. They noted that our focused work on developing our teachers as highly skilled practitioners has had a significant impact on our young people, who have subsequently become assessment-capable learners who are highly engaged and motivated to learn. I'm delighted that the inspection team validated and praised the consistently high quality of learning and teaching, which is evident across our school. The team was particularly impressed by our collegiate approach, which values and understands the importance of collective efficacy in ensuring best possible outcomes for our young people. All staff at St Luke's are acutely aware of the socio-economic context of the community that we serve. Indeed, we know that St Luke's is the lowest average SIMD of all 7 of our secondary schools. But we've adopted a narrative, a shared narrative of no poverty of aspiration across our school community, and focused relentlessly in ensuring all young people achieve their full potential in a climate of high expectations. Therefore, we are so proud that the inspection team recognised our approach to addressing the barriers to learning resulting from poverty as a major strength. They noted the variety of approaches which we adopt to remove these barriers and praised our consistently improving outcomes for learners living in the most deprived deciles as being significantly above the national average for the last 5 years. I'm also delighted that they recognised our very good use of pupil equity funding and our bespoke child-centred approach to ensuring interventions lead to improved outcomes for learners. This was highlighted as a strength, resulting in significant improvements in attendance, attainment and engagement for targeted young people. Whilst the inspection team rightly recognised the tremendous progress we are making in closing the poverty-related attainment gap, they also noted our very strong performance in national examinations. They highlighted the strength of our partnership working with our cluster primaries, skilled use of assessment, robust monitoring and tracking, and effective approaches to securing positive destinations in raising attainment and achievement for all learners. I'm delighted that the inspection team also recognised our innovative approaches to skills development across the curriculum, and were impressed by how well our learners can identify and discuss their skills development and progression. In addition, we're so proud that the inspection team recognised the outstanding contribution our young people make to their school and community, noting that our skills development activities provide young people not only with a genuine voice in school improvement, but also a very strong understanding of their responsibility to others. Overall, we're delighted to have received such a strong endorsement of the strategic and sustained work we've been doing to improve the quality of learning, teaching, assessment, and thus raise attainment and achievement for all of our young people. I'd like to thank the Director, Dr Ratter, the Education Leadership Team, the Quality Improvement Team and David Gordon, our QIO, for their outstanding support. However, I would particularly like to thank Janice Collins, who has supported our ambitious work from its infancy right through to our inspection. Her support throughout the inspection process has been exceptional. I would also like to thank the Convener and Education Committee for your ongoing support of our school and all of our schools across East Renfrewshire. I am honoured and privileged to lead the St Luke's community and would like to take this opportunity to recognise our outstanding, professional and expert team of staff and our wonderful young people who inspire and motivate us every day. As a school community of faith and learning, we are utterly committed to continuing to improve outcomes for our learners through highly effective approaches to learning and teaching. We have invested in and developed a highly skilled and expert staff who foster our strong Catholic ethos and nurture supportive relationships with young people. Therefore, I am confident that we have the capacity to continue to improve and are well placed to take forward the recommendation to continue to refine our highly effective practice. Our initial next steps are outlined in our action plan. However, longer term, we'll continue to be strategic, innovative and creative in our approaches to learning, teaching and assessment so that our young people continue to flourish in a climate of innovation, creativity and high expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Downey. Very well said, and I'm absolutely sure the committee are more than happy to approve the small item on the action plan, given all the excellent work that you're doing. So I'm assuming that's it. Sorry, yes, well, obviously I chose that word carefully, actually. So I'm assuming that's the case. Excellent, thank you. Before we move then on to the next items on the agenda, I think we'll let our two excellent head teachers get back to where they want to actually be in their schools. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And so moving on now to item 6 on the agenda, the digital learning and teaching progress, and I believe it's Janice again. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you, Convener. This paper provides further information on the impact of and links between the digital learning and teaching strategy and the wider work of the department. The report provides additional information detailing how the use of digital technology has impacted and and we have categorised this under the following 4 themes: digital equity, the use of inclusive digital technologies to raise attainment for learners who require additional support, impact on experiences and outcomes, including in literacy, numeracy and health and wellbeing, parental engagement and involvement. Paragraphs 15 to 22 outlines the work of the Department and its schools in supporting digital equity, including detail on the investment to support those living in poverty with the purchase of digital devices. Paragraphs 20D to 26 provides information on how digital technology is being utilised to support children and young people with additional support needs. Paragraph 26 in particular outlines the work to support learners of English as an additional language, the inclusion of our unaccompanied asylum seekers and children and young people from Ukraine in their learning in our schools. Paragraph 27 to 31 focuses on the support of the entitlements of literacy, numeracy and health and wellbeing, with paragraph 29 detailing the percentage of young people who recognise that digital devices help them learn in the classroom and playroom, and most practitioners agreeing that relevant professional learning in digital technology has positively impacted on their classroom practice. Finally, paragraphs 32 to 34 provides information on digital support for parents and carers. The Department's Digital Learning and Teaching Strategy 24 to 27 provides detail of next steps for improvement, including engagement of artificial intelligence tools. Education Committee is asked to note the continued progress of the delivery of digital learning and teaching. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you, Janice. And yes, so as this is an update paper, as previously with regards to the digital strategy paper we had before, and we're asked to note, is there, it's quite specific in the areas that Janice has mentioned. Is there any questions or comments in Councillor Pagan?
It's great to see in paragraph 32 the Learn Well service being mentioned. I just would like to thank all those involved in arranging a visit for me. I really enjoyed visiting the Learn Well service, and thank you to all those staff who indulged me for 2 hours with all their with all my questions. That was much appreciated. Just moving on to paragraph 33, where it mentions parents' digital inclusion. It does mention that parents, schools and settings do have a drop-in session for parents who are maybe not as digitally literate as they could be, but how often is that actually being taken up, and how do we still break down the stigma surrounding that? I know that maybe some parents will be very active on like their phones, and but it is a very different setting to take a phone, a smartphone setting from, say, a conventional laptop, or the layouts are often quite different. So what more can be done to kind of break down that barrier and the stigma associated with that?
Specifically in our parental involvement and engagement strategy, we have how we can communicate with parents and how they can collaborate in their children's learning, and there's aspects that can be taken forward there. I think sometimes there is a reluctance. We also have it in our digital strategy to engage more with parents, and one of the aspects is about the safe use, because sometimes some of the barriers can be the unknown and the fear factor. So I don't hold individual information for each school. I know, similar to out in the foyer there, that there is access where they can fill in forms, but as you said, I think it's very few who don't have access now to the internet through smartphones, but our adult learning services and the Trust also support digital access, but I think what we're good at is sort of highlighting it and trying to break down the stigma, but I don't unfortunately have those figures, but I could speak to you out with this meeting and see if I can find them for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Janice. Councillor Wallace?
Yeah, it's the whole arena of artificial intelligence, which I think is very, very significant and very worrying. I note here there's, as far as the safe and ethical way of using artificial intelligence, currently there is no national regulations on this technology. I do see in para 38 there was mention of a head teacher seminar that AI was on the agenda, with initial engagement and discussions taking place. You know, I mean, there's huge concerns about artificial intelligence. I mean, words like sort of less destroying the very core of what it is to be human. and if you like, in an education arena, critical thinking by proxy, if you like, and that people aren't actually thinking for themselves. They're going to leave it to a bit of technology, completely destroy any forms of creativity. So I would be very interested if at all at some point in the future, once I see you've had this on the agenda, if at some point in the future we could maybe have some kind of presentation about how this is going to be used in schools. Okay, thanks.
Very happy to do that, Councillor Wallace. I think there's a number of elements that we are taking forward. As the paper mentions, there's been work at a West Partnership level in creating a kind of audit tool that helps schools engage and see where they are currently and where staff are, and it links to a number of the kind of key research documents. Some of the tools are already there, and schools are already using those, and I think your point is a key one around that ethical use. So things like ChatGPT, they have biases that are built into those. They're built generally by, people in the West, often by men, and often with a kind of bias in terms of ethnicity. So actually, in terms of using some of those tools with some of the documents that they have been fed into them, we need to be getting our young people to be able to, as you said, critique those in the same way that we did as some of the other tools came along. But actually, that's going to be a key element in them being able to use those in a creative way. And actually, just to give you a kind of an example that was used at that head teacher seminar, as well as being able to use ChatGPT to produce a kind of written document, you can use it to create an image. And the presenter had used that to and asked the artificial intelligence tool to create an image of a teacher teaching AI, using AI in the class. And it was interesting even there in terms of some of the biases that come out there in terms of what that teacher looks like, and some of the stereotypes that come through from some of the. So we need to, our young people need to understand how we use these tools ethically. There's some wider discussions that then need to take place in terms of with the likes of SQA. And I know that's ongoing at the moment in terms of how are some of these tools then used or not used, and there's different views on that in terms of assessment methodologies and so on. So very happy to bring something back to either to Education Committee, or we can do it as an out with sort of session and sort of a briefing session for elected members. That might be more helpful. So perhaps we can speak to the convener outside this meeting and come up with the most appropriate way.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Councillor Councillor McCann.
Yeah, thanks. Just to welcome the paper and, in fact, the latter parts of the discussion there, because it had been mentioned before, and it is vital going forward. Technology is fantastic, the use of it. We learned a lot even through the pandemic about online teaching and how some of the things could be utilised and done. So there are a lot of very positive aspects, but equally there are some negatives. And I think we have to be wary of those negatives because they could be very significant. And I think one of the things that's been recognised for some time has been that challenge of both welcoming the use of IT but learning how to use it properly. The difficulty we face, and it's in every walk, not just in education, is the aspect that the technology is usually always several years ahead of the legislation in terms of the actual control of it. And that is a massive issue which we will face, and that's highlighted with the inbuilt biases that you see in some of the programmes. So it's about learning to use the IT, but also being aware that it does have inbuilt, that it's not necessarily all you would want it to be, and it will have those biases involved in it, and we need to make sure that people are educated to understand that and therefore use the technology properly. But yeah, it becomes a much bigger issue. Going back in probably most of our day, when calculators were first introduced that could do more than usual in our maths and arithmetic exams, it became a problem in education. Nowadays, there is so much more involved in all of that. It's going to take a lot more work to make sure that we still get the right outcomes. Hence the need for all bodies, national and indeed across Europe, to look at much of what is happening to ensure that we get the right outcomes. But yeah, it is an issue that we are faced with and that we need to deal with. We just need to make sure that we try and push the legislation as quickly as the technology.
Absolutely, thanks, Councillor McCann. Oh, Councillor Wallace, you want to come back in? Well, interestingly enough, well, sorry, they now actually allow calculators in exams, whereas we used to have exams where you were not allowed a calculator, I remember. Councillor Don.
Thanks very much. Janice, thanks very much for this update paper. I really appreciate it. And I think that discussion on AI was one of the things I wanted to discuss. This is not a one-off discussion. This is going to be on our agenda for the next 10, 15 years. But it's something the Education Committee need to have better awareness of that. And so I welcome the suggestion of some sort of briefing on that point. And again, within paragraph 35, it's opportunities and risks. So there's a balanced position on this that we need to work our way through. Other points I'd just like to draw attention to. Really appreciate the testimonials that you included in the appendix from the schools and the impact that it has on our schools and our pupils. Really like the comments in paragraph 16 that every child in SIMD 1, 2 and 3 now have a Chromebook. That's most welcome, particularly as we're thinking about how we reduce the child poverty attainment gap. And again, paragraph 30, I think this was something relates to something that I raised at the last meeting, which was that we're starting to see reduction in workload for staff. And I think that is, again, most welcome to see that. So thank you very much. Very good and helpful update.
Thanks, Councillor O'Donnell. Any other notes or comments? With regards to the Chromebooks as well, I also noted beyond school what the availability for children who may not have access to all the devices that they would help facilitate their learning beyond school. Then that is plus the little access points where maybe internet access is an issue, possibly at home they can continue their learning elsewhere. Is very important to see. And so the recommendation is that we're asked to note the continued progress, but we anticipate we'll have further updates on specific, so we can discuss that and how we can best arrange that. And any other comments or notes? No, great, thank you. And okay, so we'll move on to the next item then. Item 7 is to review the sustainable rate for early learning and childcare funded provision. And I believe it's going to be Graham that's going to present the paper on this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Convener. This is a relatively short paper, so I'll try and keep my remarks equally as brief. This paper provides an update to Education Committee on the further review of the sustainable rate paid to funded providers and seeks approval for the payment of that new rate from April 2024. Just briefly, by way of background, members will recall that within East Hampshire, as is the case across Scotland, families have a choice in how they access their child statutory entitlement of 1,140 hours of funded early learning and childcare. In addition to wide-ranging local authority provision, families can also choose for the child to attend an independent nursery provider or childminder, and that's where they meet the national standard and are indeed willing to work in partnership with the council. These partners are collectively known as our funded providers and are paid what is referred to as a sustainable rate for delivery of this service. Such rates are set independently by each authority based on their own circumstances and funding. In August 2023, at the beginning of the current session, Education Committee approved an increase in the sustainable rate to £5.87 from the previous rate of £5.69 per hour. This in itself had been an increase in the previous rate of £5.31. These increases have sought to support our funded providers, whom we continue to work very closely with, and recognising the cost pressures that they face in delivery of their services. Turning to the main body of the report, members will note that the Scottish Government's Programme for Government set out a commitment for childcare workers delivering the statutory entitlement to be paid a minimum of £12 per hour from April 2024, and as part of the budget announced at the end of last year, funding has been allocated for this purpose. Through COSLA, an agreement to a standardised 7.6% uplift to all existing rates across the country has been agreed, and it has been determined that this would ensure sufficient additional resource to be provided to enable funded providers to meet their new obligation on that £12 minimum hourly rate. As noted in the report, this results in a new recommended rate of £6.32 per hour here within East Renfrewshire. Of course, in addition to the new increased rate, providers will also continue to receive payment for the provision of food and funding through the Scottish Milk and Healthy Snacks Scheme. Again, both of those are detailed within the report. In order to ensure that funding providers are able to achieve the new expected pay rate as soon as possible, it's further recommended that the new rate be backdated to the 1st of April. In advance of today's meeting, we have communicated to all providers, just updating them on what the proposed changes are, and following on from today, obviously subject to committee approval, we'll ensure that the necessary arrangements are then put in place. Finally, I would just note that the Department does obviously continue to monitor the ongoing affordability of any changes to the sustainable rate very carefully. The numbers of children accessing funded providers can vary on an annual basis, and I would note that the rate setting guidance set by the Scottish Government itself stresses that the rate must be sustainable for both providers but also us as local authorities. We will of course continue to engage very closely with our providers through a kind of annual exercise as we do, but I would just note that there is no guarantee of automatic annual increases, as we've detailed in the report. So in conclusion, Convener, we also welcome the additional funding being provided for the purpose of supporting increased pay across the sector for our funded providers, and so committee is therefore asked to note the position with regards to the sustainable rate, approve the increased rate to £6.32 and request that the new rate be backdated to the 1st of April 2024. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Graham. We're asked to note the position. Does anyone have any comments, or Councillor Wallace?
Yeah, just to say, councillors from previous administration will recall councillors' inboxes were quite full with concerns, if you like, from funded providers, and I have to say that they've been absent recently, so thank you to the work of the Education Department for that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. Councillor Buchanan.
Yeah, thanks, Conveners. Just to welcome this paper. It has been challenging getting to this stage, and I want to thank our staff for the work that they do with our providers across East Renfrewshire, and the close relationship has enabled work to be carried out, and as Councillor Wallace touched on, hopefully reduce any letters that used to come in. But again, I know and I appreciate that doesn't happen everywhere, which has been one of the challenges in trying to get this figure together nationally. So I very much welcome that we are now at this stage, and that the funding can now be handed over to our partner providers, along with the additional support that we always have in place. So thanks to that, I'm happy to note the report.
Sorry, I was just going to say, obviously paragraph 13 there, I think that's been a kind of key element that we've sought to put in place, is that kind of ongoing support to providers across a range. It's not just about the rate. It's about that kind of wider package of support, ensuring that they're supported with that.
Thank you, Graham. Any other notes and comments? No. The only comment I would make is obviously that I think, given what Councillor Wallace and Buchanan have just been talking about there, and recognising the work that goes on, you can tell that there's a healthy, I believe at the moment, relationship between us and the providers, and long may that continue. So we are asked to note the position, and also then approve the increase in the sustainable hourly rate to £6.32, and then ask the requested Director of Education to arrange for the backdating of the new rate to Monday the 1st of April 2024. Committee's happy to agree with that. Okay. Thank you. Excellent. And we can move on now to the final paper, and final item is the West Partnership Improvement Collaborative, an update report for 24-25 and beyond, and that's be presented by Mark Ratter. Thank you.
Thank you, Convener. The report provides committee with an update on the plans for the West Partnership following the national review of regional improvement collaboratives, which was undertaken by the Scottish Government, and the associated reduction in funding for 24-25 onwards. Education Committee noted the progress of the West Partnership and the contents of the improvement plan in September 2023. In June 2023, the Cabinet Secretary for Education and Skills announced a rapid review of the impact that regional improvement collaboratives have had on supporting pupils and practitioners. That was commissioned as part of the current education reforms that are taking place to inform future decisions on regional improvement collaborative support and the consideration of the relationships between the new national bodies. It's worth noting that this was the third review of regional improvement collaboratives, with previous reports published in 2019 and 2021. The report was published in January 2024, and paragraph 8 of your report sets out the key themes included in the executive summary. Overall, the report found that the regional improvement engagement and support to pupils and practitioners had continued to expand and deepen since the last evaluation. And the report notes that across Scotland, regional improvement collaboratives were engaging with approximately 30% of schools, whilst accounting for 0.1% of the spending in Scotland for education. Paragraph 10 highlights the engagement more locally, with the interim evaluation report for the West Partnership providing evidence that the West Partnership has engaged with 87% of primary, secondary and special schools this session, and around 25% of all staff, and that was to January. Committee will be aware, though, that in a statement to Parliament in November 2023, the Cabinet Secretary indicated that it had been decided, in light of the review, that the funding for regional improvement collaboratives would be tapered, repurposing this funding to better support teachers in classrooms. And part of this change would include the setting up of the Centre for Teaching Excellence. Funding for 24-25 was clarified by the Scottish Government on the 30th of January. Regional improvement collaboratives would be provided with 50% of the 2023-24 funding. For the West Partnership, this amounts to around £750,000. Discussions with directors and chief education officers across the West Partnership have highlighted the need for the partnership to continue to add value and work collaboratively across the individual local authorities. Paragraph 14 sets out the ongoing ambitions of the partnership. In planning for 24-25 and the reduced funding, West Partnership officers are considering each programme, the various professional learning activities and networks against a set of criteria to establish which have the greatest impact and reach, and where West Partnership activity is different from other local and national offers. As a regional improvement collaborative, we're currently in the process of developing more detailed plans, setting out the themes that we'll collaborate on in 24-25 and then beyond. Part of these plans will be setting out the required staffing in terms of the West Partnership core team for 24-25 and what that might look like beyond that in 25-26. The analysis and the evidence will be used to inform the West Partnership improvement plan for next year, and that will again, as usual, be brought back to a future Education Committee in East Renfrewshire. Given the reduction in funding and staff team, discussion is taking place nationally around the expectations in relation to planning and reporting. An update on the priorities, governance and staffing model will be presented at the next Glasgow City Region Education Committee in May 2024. So in conclusion, Convener, the West Partnership is continuing to make very good progress. It has increased engagement and support for schools, pupils and practitioners. We continue to see the benefit of the Regional Improvement Collaborative across the West, and we are looking at ways that that can continue despite the loss of funding, albeit acknowledging that that will be in a reduced way. So Education Committee is asked to note and comment on the report. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you, Mark. As Mark said, we're asked to note and comment. Councillor Watts.
Thank you. Excuse me. When this, the regional collaboration, when this first came to full council or the Education Committee, that it was being proposed, I had a great fear that this was going to be the kind of the start of the complete amalgamation, if you like, of schools and removal of local authorities having influence over or full control over how their schools are run. And I'm delighted to say I've been proved wrong over the years. The Director of Education is always very generous with his time. If ever I've got any queries on anything in education, but any discussions that we do have, it's very clear of the great benefit that all schools and East Renfrewshire actually gets from this collaborative. It's all about sharing best practice, and I'm very frustrated to see that, first of all, 50% cut, but I believe that the next following year it will disappear altogether. I wonder, Councillor Buchanan, through your role in COSLA, as to, and through you, Chair, as to whether we can have any influence at all over trying to do something about this, because quite clearly it's been, what is it, 0.1% of the school budget, and the actual benefits that we get from it. I mean, I do get concerned when it mentions here how it cannot be the benefits cannot be quantified, when quite clearly They've been well articulated on many occasions, and I just feel, this suggestion that it's going to be put into something called the Centre of Teaching Excellence is just nonsense. I wish I could find a better word for it. So, as I say, through you, Chair, I don't know whether Councillor Buchanan can maybe give us an update on what's happening through COSLA. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. Councillor Buchanan.
Yeah, happy to provide an update. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that the regional improvement collaboratives have worked very well. They've worked well in general across the country. Every collaborative has had some very positive results. The West has been particularly strong for some time and has delivered, as we see here, some outstanding results. Given the already low level of funding that they had, to achieve what they have has been quite remarkable. And each report that has come out has highlighted those successes, which is another positive of them. The position nationally is still that we would like to see the collaboratives remain and, of course, be funded, and that push continues. There is still very little clarity or information around the Centre for Teaching Excellence. There was an idea mooted, if you like, but there is no real clarity in relation to that. And it would also potentially operate in a much narrower focus in terms of what's achievable, in that it will strictly look at teaching excellence, which is absolutely fine, but I think there is a place for that, namely through the universities teaching teachers, and indeed locally within each authority. And as we highlighted earlier, the work that gets done here about providing that additional professional support for teachers once in post. So we know that that's an ongoing issue. There's a lot still very much in the mix. We think there is arguments which have said that because the proposed Centre for Teaching Excellence doesn't include a lot of the work that the regional improvement collaboratives do, that there would still be a need for something to actually bring all of that together. So that argument continues. As I say, a decision was made by the Cabinet Secretary, but we continue nationally to raise the issues and flag up the concerns that we have, and that's part of ongoing discussions.
Thank you, Councillor Buchanan. Councillor O'Donnell.
Just to follow up on that point, and it's the same concern as Councillor Wallace and Councillor Buchanan. I raised the motion at COSLA about these cuts, and which was passed unanimously, to ask for them at least to be deferred or to be reconsidered, and for them to provide evidence on why the Centre of Excellence will be a better replacement. The response to that we can see in the budget cut, which is unsatisfactory. So really the question here for us as an education committee, obviously COSLA continues, but is there something that the education committee should be saying or doing through either the Director of Education or a convener to raise our concerns and disappointment around this, to re-emphasise the work that's going on at COSLA? I don't know if Director of Education would be able to comment on that.
Mark, are you able to comment on that?
Obviously, we continue to feed in through the COSLA position like that. From that perspective, we could certainly put together a letter and respond if that's what committee was looking to do. I mean, from my perspective, it looks as though the decision has been made, so it would be a significant reversal that we would be looking for at that point.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Well, the question is then, I suppose, is the committee willing to agree on that, or as a step, or not? If there's any other comments, how is the committee?
I can. The decision may well be made, but it doesn't mean we can't show our disappointment in that decision. I think the weight of East Renfrewshire Council Education Committee drawing attention to that, I would hope would have some weight, given our leadership in Scotland on many educational issues. Whether it will have any effect is another matter, but I think there's value in lobbying and sending a letter if we're in agreement.
Well, in that instance, yes, the question is that the proposal is that we ask Mark to write to the Cabinet Secretary confirming what we've discussed, what our viewpoint is. From my point of view, obviously, since I started, I became very aware of the West Partnership and what it achieves, and what it does, and what we've really talked about it. You mentioned the history, Councillor Wallace, and the fact that it affects 1 in 3 children in Scotland is significant. And we've heard, I think, a lot today about the West Partnership being mentioned in the professional development of the teachers and the actual impact of the classrooms. So I'll ask the question then, if the committee is supportive of us asking Dr Ratter to write to the Cabinet Secretary to record our comments today.
I wonder whether it might be better coming from you as the convener, but I can certainly write that letter for you. Yep.
Happy to do so, but with the agreement of the committee. So, okay, agreed. Excellent. Councillor Wallace? Sorry, Councillor Devlin.
Thanks. Just in regards to the cut, was there no intimation that, through, the Scottish Government's budget, that, that this was going to be cut?
So she announced in autumn that there would be a tapering at that stage was the language that was used, and then through the budget process, the indication at that point it wasn't clear whether it would be 50%. It could have been more or less, but that for you were right, from 25-26 then it would stop. So there was a tapering in 24-25 and then a stopping in 25-26 was what was announced. But as Councillor Buchanan said, COSLA at that point did challenge that, because at that particular point when that decision was made, the review hadn't even been published. So the evidence, yes, that information for elected members to be able to even scrutinise that at that point wasn't even available in the public domain.
Again.
Probably worth highlighting that the initial position was that the funding was to be cut completely, and a new centre set up. So, but obviously, following discussions, that was amended slightly, albeit not as much as we would like. But as Dr. Ratter has indicated, those discussions continue to be the case, and the points continue to be made to the Cabinet Secretary about how well the Regional Improvement Collaboratives perform and the great service that they provide to all the member authorities within each collaborative. So that continues.
Thank you, Councillor Buchanan. Further to the comments, the additional comments have been made. Does the committee still support? Well, I thank you very much then for your honesty and concerns that we all share and agree on. So that's agreed. Thank you. And that's the final item on the agenda. Okay, and we'll close the meeting. Thank you.